Where do you feel God the most, in church or in the woods?
Dude, that's a tough one for me. They start that monotony of going and doing the 9 to 5. Like, you need that detox, you need that withdrawal. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's right there, and you're like, I can't see him. I was like, come get some mother ever.
Love you, thank you. All right, you guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is a little different. I wanted to go ahead and interview both of my parents because on my channel I have a mix of being outdoors and also lifting weights, and I think a lot of you guys follow me for both of those or a combination of those things. And my dad was the one that got me into the outdoors, and my mom was the one. I guess they both got me into lifting, but my mom was a pro bodybuilder.
Yes,
So
I did. Right?
my mom was a pro bodybuilder, so that's kind of where I often reflect back on why I got into it, or where my genetics sort of came from. Now my dad gave me some good genetics, especially for my back and calves and things. But this is my dad. Dad, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, Jason Riley, lived in, always from Columbus, Ohio. And this young punk sitting next to me is my baby.
Yes, sir. So I prepared some questions. Basically, we're just going to be talking about the outdoors. It's a huge part of our whole life. In fact, 5 years ago, you guys bought this property?
Yeah. So it was, I think it's 4 years this year, November. So we're right there. And, basically we just always, I shouldn't say I always dreamt of having a piece of property that we could hunt, we could fish, we could do anything we wanted to on. And so during COVID, we kind of looked at, our community. We raised these guys in and said, hey, let's get out of here, man. Kids were both kind of grown and doing their own thing. And so we took that leap of faith and bought our acreage down here in Southern Ohio. And it's been great, so.
I would say even living in Columbus, we did, or you did a really good job of getting us outdoors, even though we lived in more of a residential area.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of that stems from, we have some good friends of ours that got me into camping and things like that. For me personally, my dad, a little bit of background, had a brain tumor, and so other than basically being able to be part of my coach growing up, he wasn't a real big outdoorsman influence on me, but some good friends of ours took us camping and different things like that. And so while my dad was a hunter at his younger age, he actually had a hunting injury, which you're probably well aware of, where he got shot in the groin.
Yeah.
So he was out rabbit hunting and got shot in the groin. And so I don't know if that made him not want me hunting or not, but ironically, right after he passed away, I was 21 years old. I just got this outrageous drive that I wanted to get in the woods and start hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started reaching out to friends, and in fact, Jim Cox and people like that, people who I knew hunted, and said, hey, dude, I want to do this. And it just kind of flourished from there. So, granted, we camped, we fished, we did a lot of that, when I was little, but it was more, I was in my 20s when I really started hunting, and then I just became addicted. So
that's what I was going to ask. The first two questions I was going to ask was, who first taught you to hunt, and then how'd you fall in love with the outdoors? But I guess who's the first one that actually took you out in the woods? Was it Uncle Sean?
No.
Or
in
you
fact,
took Uncle Sean?
I took Uncle Sean. Yeah. So that's vice versa. Yeah, I got him into the outdoors. And Uncle Sean is one of my best friends, just so you guys know. It's to them, it's their uncle.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like his kid calls me Uncle Jay. No blood, but they're just kind of the best friend from life, and so they're the uncles. But no, it was actually, I think Jim Cox is probably the first one who went with me and taught me like how to climb. I actually went to a friend of ours' property by myself for the first time, and just went out in the woods with a freaking folding chair and my bow that I had no
You gotta
clue.
explain that experience, bro.
I will.
Because that was one of the later questions. Maybe save it for in a minute.
Okay, but yeah, but I got a bow that didn't have sights on it, and I could barely hit the side of a barn with the damn thing. I had no clue I mean, I kid you not, dude. I think I got bales of hay, and I was lucky to hit a bale of hay with it. It was I was so far off. But I was just shooting instinctively. I was just looking down the
Right.
bow and just, and then took us someplace, and one of the archer guys was like, "Dude, you would really do better if you put some sights on here." And then he explained to me what sights were, and then all of a sudden I'm hitting the target within, pie plate within seconds. I was like, "Whoa, my gosh,"
Yeah.
And it was a really old bow, anyways, but it shot. And then so my first couple times, I just literally went to friends' property and just was like, I'm gonna try it. So I took a folding chair and sat in the woods and had no clue about scent, no clue about. I mean, I bought camo, but I didn't know to cover my face, So
Yeah.
you'd have deer walking by and looking right at you, because they can see your white face in the woods. So
Right. Well, I think that's what's cool about the outdoors is, yeah, you can get really expensive equipment and cool bows and stuff, but you can get into it pretty easily.
oh
Like
yeah,
you can, I mean, I remember times when we would literally just build ground blinds out of sticks or find like a fallen over tree and sit behind the stump and hunt literally out of a, you got a ladybug on you,
oh, they're all over right
but
now.
hunt out of a just makeshift ground blind.
Oh, we did a
And
lot of that when you guys were little because I couldn't take you up in the tree.
right.
So we did makeshift ground blinds, and I'd put like a burlap sack, or some type of camouflaged netting in front of you just so that we could get you out and get you experience in it. And really, I mean, that for me, that was, it was already a part of my life that I was enjoying. And so, you obviously, we had a camper for 13 years of your life. So, we started you guys out really young camping and fishing and stuff. And so when you're old enough to hold a gun, granted, you never shot it at that age, but I'd take you out. And, I think your mom and I just always agreed that, getting you outdoors and getting you hunting and fishing and doing stuff like that's, and even with sports, like we were huge advocates of keeping you in sports because I always thought if we didn't have you in something, you would find something to get into.
Right.
It was like either we were going to keep you busy or you were going to find something to get busy in. And it was probably not
Yeah.
going to be something we wanted you doing.
Yeah.
And so that's why we just always promoted you doing that stuff. And thank God we did. Because, I mean, Division I football player, which we're real proud of. And then B, you've, taken the outdoors and, created a community of love and stuff and a following now. So it's kind of crazy to see it all come full circle. But,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think getting outdoors or even playing a sport, whether or not like you like it or you're just doing it for your parents, it's for sure going to teach you a lot of life lessons that carry over into your life. Like towards the end of football, I wasn't really enjoying playing college football, but it's one of the most impactful experiences I've ever had just because it taught me to wake up when I didn't want to wake up. It taught me, how to play with the team and, sacrifice your body for the people around you. And there's just so many other areas like that video you showed me the other day. Like if you get into a job interview and you were a student athlete, tell them you're a student athlete.
Yeah.
Because it's one like everyone else during that time period in their life as a normal college student or someone who even was just working.
They're out partying.
They're out
doing
partying.
everything
They're
else.
doing all this other stuff where even on the weekends as a student athlete, like you couldn't do that crap.
Yeah.
Unless you won a big game,
Right.
So there was a lot of sacrifices that I had to make and my teammates had to make to, see success.
Yeah.
So
Well, and a lot of that even goes back to even in high school, and as a parent, when he came to us and said, guys, I'm done, granted he had a major injury, and he's going into basically his senior year. And, I get it. He's got 10 guys that are scouting for a spot, trying to get it from him. And so when he was younger, though, like we told them, listen, if you go out for a team, there ain't no quitting. Like you're going to put it through the season. Now, if you don't want to go back after that season's over, fine. But there ain't no quitting. So when he comes to us and says, I'm quitting football because I can't do it anymore, we're like, what? Like, but we also understood, so that was one of those things that we just kind of went with and it worked out well.
Yeah. What's the biggest lesson you'd hope Chase and I would learn from being outdoors with you?
It's kind of funny that you've taken the withdrawal to that level. It's,
For people that don't know, Withdrawal is my Christian outdoor brand that I do with a buddy.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it's that stepping away from everyday life. And there's just something about it where to me, it's my happy place. It's that time where you get out in the woods and you know you go in the dark in most cases. So you get in your stand and you're there when really the woods wake up. It's kind of crazy because all of a sudden you'll start seeing these bugs are all over, aren't they? You'll start seeing the the squirrels coming out, and then different things like that, and it's just kind of weird to see literally the woods wake up. Everybody's kind of coming out of their holes and starting to move, and I enjoy the heck out of that. And sometimes we even forget that we're hunting. You're watching deer, and it's like, oh yeah, I am here to
Yeah.
try to kill deer. But we're a little bit different now that we've got this property. We kind of are being very selective, and like mature does, we're letting walk right now until after the mating season. So we want those big bucks here. So we're kind of taking management aspects now.
Yeah. How did spending all the time outdoors with Chase and I like impact our relationships with you?
Oh,
Because I think it's huge,
dude.
especially now that we're adults. Too.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the one thing that we do together still on
Right.
a yearly basis. It's the reason you guys come home, which makes us happy. Not even that, but like even the situation where last week when you shot your deer, the fact that Chase was able to be out there, and I mean he said it himself. He's like, Dad, or he said, Blaine, I'm so glad that I got to experience this with you. You guys are like not only brothers, but you're great friends.
Mm-hmm.
And for you two to be able to experience that with each other was just, that was heartwarming for me because it was an event that, I was working. So I
Yeah.
get the call like big buck down. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't get back from Columbus quick enough to even get out here. Don't worry about them at this point.
That
dude.
one was about to crawl on your ear.
So I think that's really not only the relationship that we have as parents with our kids, but just the relationship that we created for you guys. Because, so often these families, as soon as people grow up and they go to college, they disappear, you have 3 kids on 3 different sides of the country. And, and even my family, my 2 sisters, we're really close. My sisters and I just went through a pretty, hard event with my mom passing. And like, we worked so well together that I really truly believe that when that happens for Minnie and I, like you guys are going to be just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
It's not going to be this fight of who gets what. We worked really good together. So I think that's really what a lot of that will be for you guys. Is that relationship that you guys have is crazy. But like I said, him experiencing that situation with you, getting your first big buck was just awesome to see.
Yeah. Next one is, where do you feel God the most, in church or in the woods, or both, and why?
Dude, that's a tough one for me
Yeah.
because for me, it's more in church than it is in the woods. In the woods, I see God's stuff out there, but I think for me, I feel God more in the church
Mm-hmm.
than I do in the woods.
I think you need both, though. A lot of times I see
yeah.
people that say they're like, outdoorsmen or hunters. They're like, this is my church. And it's a video of them outdoors. And it's like, I get that. Like,
Yeah.
seeing God's creation is really humbling and also amazing to experience. But at the same time, being around people in church and experience the Holy Spirit in that environment is also very impactful.
Yeah.
But me and my buddy Chris, the one that I started the Christian outdoor brand with, we were talking about that the other day. It's like, you can't have one or the other. Like, you've got to have both. Like, you've got to be able to be in those environments in church or in small groups, but also you got to be able to withdraw. And that takes us to the next question, because in the Bible it talks about how Jesus often withdrew into the wilderness to pray, which is what our brand is based around. But why do you think, like, the woods has always been a spot where people go for solitude or just to regroup? Because even with like camping and stuff growing up, even
Yeah.
being in a camper in a huge campground, it's like, man, we're getting away. Even though like you'd be working all weekend mowing and building a deck or doing stuff, it's like it was still like relaxing. Or
Well, and I think why the woods, I think that stems from thousands of years of evolution. Where people kind of just whether like we've got a big Native American bloodline, so like my great grandmother was full blooded Crow Indian. So maybe that's part of that. But I think the biggest thing, and like we said with the withdrawal, I think so many people in today's day and age, you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a job, and there's a funny video right now where this girl, it's summer break, and she's like, "Okay, guys, I'll see you in 3 months," and she doesn't know that you don't get summer break off because she's just fresh out of high school, and the people are like, "What are you talking about? Like, we work next week," and she's like, "Well, what do we do for the summer?" And they're like, "You come back to work."
Yeah.
And so many people, like, they start that monotony of going and doing the 9 to 5 that it just, you need that detox, you need that withdrawal. And I think a lot of people, whether it's, being a hunter or being a camper, I think, that's just a nice way to just step back. And so I think that's really where people, I think a lot of it's just everybody has these stupid jobs that are just driving and grinding them into the ground, that the woods are just, you don't have the phones ringing, you don't have,
Yeah.
a lot of
Nothing.
cases like where we're at, we can't even get a cell phone signal
Yeah.
to call each other. So it's nice just to be able to step back and go, man, like, I'm free.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that detached from your freaking cell phone.
Yeah. No one's texting you. No one's calling you. At least like it's been tough. I'm actually thankful I shot my buck because I've been taking a step away from working, doing coaching calls and doing all this stuff the last couple of weeks because I've been grinding in the woods, which has been amazing for me mentally. But at the same time, it's like, okay, time to get back into the
Yeah,
swing
time to
of things,
regroup. Yeah.
So I'm thankful for both.
It's funny, guys, because sometimes he comes here. I think he's coming here to see us, and he spends all day. You guys don't know the work editing videos and on his computer. You have no clue what this kid does. So I like it when he gets a chance to get out and jump on the ATV and just go. So
Yeah. And that's what I've started to realize too is outside of editing, I want my brand and my content to be centered around stuff that I would be doing whether or not I was recording or not.
hmm
So like yesterday, me working out in the garage, or me going on a hunt. I'm trying to get better about recording hunts and stuff. But that stuff I would be doing whether or not I had a platform or had a camera.
oh yeah,
So
that's never going to
yeah,
change.
like I enjoy doing all that stuff. Even editing that stuff is so freaking fun because I'm getting to reflect back on something I love, whether it's a good workout or a cool little hunt that I had in the woods.
hmm
So let me pull up the next question here.
It looks like it's raining in the pond down there. Is it rain?
Yeah, it does.
I hope your camera's not getting
It'll be fun.
wet. If
Um,
this cuts off, guys, it's because it started
yeah, if the
raining.
camera cuts off, I probably need a new one and it was raining. What's the craziest experience? Actually, one more sentimental. What do you hope your grandkids and future generations learn from being outdoors? You might have
uh,
probably hit on this already.
no, no. I think the, and what's good is I think that we as parents have taught you guys enough that I won't have to do squat.
Right.
I think it's really one of those things that you guys are going to take those kids and do the same exact things that we've done. And then I get to do the fun stuff with them. Like I get to be the one that gets to buy them a little, 50 ATV and say,
Mm-hmm.
let's go running through the woods,
Yeah.
just for fun. So I think you guys are going to be the ones teaching a lot of the stuff that we've taught you guys. And then, I get to do the fun stuff. But I hope they learn the same exact stuff you guys have learned, just to be able to be with your family and do stuff that is enjoyable. And, it's just like, we have pellet guns, we have bows, we
Yeah.
have, regular guns. We have more guns on than we do fingers, which is kind of crazy. But, and guns aren't for everybody, but it's, we're not using our guns for, anything negative. It's for our, our sport of, whether it's we're going to do a turkey hunt or we're going to
Right.
do a deer hunt. So, um, but and that's just it. Like even with the pellet guns, like you could start these little guys out so young,
Yeah.
shooting a pellet gun and teaching them, the ethics of shooting. Like not, do not turn your gun. Where to aim your barrel, different things like that. So there's a lot of that stuff that I know you guys will teach them, and there'll be times that probably we'll be together and you won't say something and I'll be like, hey, and
Yeah.
you'll go, oh yeah, the chicken's gonna knock over the we got a chicken walking underneath the camera. um So yeah, I think that's probably, what's good is I don't think you're gonna make me do a lot of work there. I hope not, because
No.
other than maybe just borrowing him on the weekends so I can take him hunting, but
Yeah.
you know,
I
I,
can't wait until. Well, I don't know if I want to say I can't wait, but I can't wait until they get in the woods with you and you like correct them or get mad at them for something or come back like, Grandpa Riley got mad at me. Because like growing up as a kid, especially if we were going hunting with my dad, it's like working in the garage with your dad, getting mad at you for not holding the flashlight still, or like when you're walking behind your dad and you're walking too loud, not
well,
picking up your feet.
well, and
Like,
you gotta admit, like Blaine was not the smallest kid, and so you put, some size 10 boots on him that are already heavy. He sounded like a freaking freight train going through the woods. So we're trying to stalk in to get to our spot and be quiet. Come on, guys. Be as quiet as possible. And he literally is just like, "Doof, doof, doof." And I'm like, Blaine, like, what are you doing? Calm down. Like,
yeah,
so yeah, I don't think you're going to hear that story at all because I think they're just going to be
yeah,
so in love with,
yeah,
Pops that uh,
yeah.
they won't tell a story on me.
What do you think is? We got two more questions, but what do you think is the best hunting advice you could give to anyone, even if it's just technical stuff, not even
Um,
about getting outdoors, but actually hunting?
I would say rely on friends and family to get you into the basics. And then, God, compared to even when I did it, I'm 53 this year, so we're talking 30 years ago. There's so much technology online that, you can go online and watch videos. It's just like when we do work on cars. I mean, everybody thinks I know how to work on cars. No, I know how to watch a YouTube video and
Right.
figure out how to do it. So, um, I think relying on friends and family to get you out there. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and even don't be afraid to ask people for permission to hunt. If you're going to do that, like I was in sales and I would, go to people's houses to sell them a windows, roofing, or
Yeah.
siding at one point. I was like, hey, how many acres you got here? And you guys let hunting out here? And so,
Yeah.
we got some that way. So, don't be afraid to ask that question. And, but then, the other thing is just start your other ones little, start them early, get them out there, get in camping, I think it's like anything else. And especially with kids, if there's one thing I'd say with them is, take them out in the best case scenarios. Like, take them out when they're not going to freeze their butt off for 5 hours, like take them out when it's, 50s and 60s and let them just see stuff, because sometimes just seeing deer is better than not seeing anything at all and them freezing. And then 2 hours into it, they're like, I
Yeah.
want to go, I want to
Yeah.
go, so let them experience that stuff and baby steps, and then it'll grow into, the passion.
What about like actual, like niche hunting advice, like finding spots, getting into the tree, scent control, things like that? What do you think is the biggest thing that you've learned? Because you come from, I mean, we hunted a lot of public land when we were kids,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that takes knowing the land. That takes like not having like you can't put corn out in public land, right?
Right. No.
So you have to really rely on understanding a landscape, understanding deer sign, things
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of that's really what it is you got to learn to understand those signs. So, seeing the scrapes, seeing the rubs, seeing just even the trails when you're walking through the woods, it's like, wow, that's a heavy hit trail right there. A lot of the public land we hunted, I started where I was literally on a gas line and I was 10 foot off the gas line inside and found a tree. And then, all of a sudden I'm seeing deer movement like way, way down deeper. And I was like, okay, well, next time I'm going to move a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, we go down there and there's a cliff down there, but they're running the top of the cliff. And we're
Right.
like, oh, this is where they're going. And then we see the travel pattern. So sometimes it actually takes an entire season or a year or two to understand a property enough to go, okay, well, this is where they're going to transition through.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, our property next door here that we're hunting. I mean, we're just now figuring out, okay, this is kind of where they're coming from. We had some good stands set up, but we're adjusting. And, I don't know if Blaine's even mentioned this, but we had all seen some movement pretty close to a stand that we had. And we went out the night before and set a tree stand up. Ironically, we called it the one night stand,
Yeah.
because we put it up in one night, and then the next morning is when he kills his buck out of it, or after next evening.
Next evening.
So, you know, we just kind of adjusted on the fly, and so I think that's, in regards to recommendations, learn the lay of the land, learn what deer signs are, and don't be afraid to freaking screw up every once in a while. Get in a stand, and if you're using a climber or you're a saddle guy, which I think you guys are saddle guys are crazy. But whatever you do, don't be afraid to set the stand and sit in it for a day or two. And then if you're not seeing anything, then start walking the woods. What's good is if you walk at early season, you're not going to screw up any hunting. So
Mhm.
if you can get out early season, do some scouting. That's really probably the big thing.
Yeah.
Early season scouting, and then
Yeah.
do what little you can during the season, because you don't want to dirty the area up. We call it dirtying up the property. You don't want to dirty it up too much, because you put too much human scent out, the big boys aren't coming. But
I would say one of the biggest things I've learned the last probably 2 months is just putting time in the woods,
Mhm.
and then understanding from there, like, okay, this is where I'm seeing the deer. And then when you get back home into the house or wherever, you can kind of start digging into that online and finding forums or, YouTube videos or whatever that will kind of confirm or help you sort of with your tree stand placement or understand what is actually happening. Because,
Mhm.
like, with this stand down here with the one night stand, it was like, okay, we're seeing a lot of these bucks in here deep, and now we're starting to learn, like, okay, they're running the top of these ridges, or this is like a huge transition point from this ridge to this ridge, and there's water over there. So spending time in the woods, and then also kind of don't have that be your only learning experience. Talk to people, and also get
Yep.
on any forum or anywhere you can learn more about what you're seeing in the woods.
There's a guy right now that's on TikTok, and this poor guy, he is so fresh into the industry. I think he works at like Dollar General or something, but he's at literally like, okay, guys, I sat in a tree, I hadn't seen nothing, and he's out there just posting every day. I'm
Yeah.
loving following his journey,
Yeah.
because he's just like, I finally saw a deer tonight, he looked right at me, but I drew, and he took off running, and it's just so funny, and he's having so many people that are literally posting, like, this is what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
And I even messaged him. I DM'd him like, what state are you in? I was like, I'll put you on some deer.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard back from him yet, but I'm just loving his journey and following that journey, because he's literally just starting fresh, man, and just it's something he's wanted to do for a long time, and just decided he was going to do it. And then but he's put it out on social media, just
Yeah.
asking for help, which is cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think another big thing is
Cheers.
staying still. Like we said earlier, you don't need the craziest camo or all the best equipment in the woods. But I mean, think about like
Blaine was really
generations
bad at that when you
before
were
us.
little.
Yeah, I get bad
Sitting
about it.
still.
But generations before us would hunt in red flannels and smoke cigarettes, and deer are looking for motion. Just how you're looking for movement in the woods, they're doing the same thing, especially if they're upwind of you. They can't smell you.
Do you remember what I used to tell you when you were little?
Mm-mm.
How to move?
Mm-mm.
Move like a leaf.
No, I don't
Do you
remember
remember that? Basically, I used to tell them, move like a leaf. A leaf kind of just flows real slow. So any movement you do, it can't be
Right.
that quick twitch. It's got to be, the slow, easy movements. Move like a leaf in the woods.
I think now too, I'm starting to spend time in front of deer. Now that we're not going after does necessarily right now, so
Yeah.
being in front of mature does has helped me realize how slow I can actually move, even when a doe is looking at me.
Mhm.
I'll even wait for like gusts of wind. We've had like some gnarly winds the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
So waiting for a huge gust of wind, and then that gives me an opportunity, whether it's lowering my head or I'm moving my bow, just opportunities where you can move and seeing what you can kind of get away with.
Well, and like I said earlier, we took a stance this year. We weren't shooting the mature does, and so there's a lot of mature does out there right now. I mean, we have stands. I kid you not. We will sit from 6 in the morning until 11 and see 25 deer, which is just absolutely crazy. But 25 of and 20 of them were does. But these does come in and they know what a stand is. So like they're literally walking in and staring you down
Yeah.
looking up at you.
Yeah.
And then we'll shift in a position where they'll let the babies come in, but then they'll stand where you've got a tree between you and her. So these does are really, really smart, and so really educated, unfortunately, I think, in the sense of where hunters are at now. And I pray to God they don't teach their fawns that one day. But um, yeah, it's kind of cool to be able to experience that where you can test the limits,
Mm-hmm.
where you get a couple, and we've all said it, these little fawns, they're so stupid. I
Oh
mean,
my
you could
gosh,
take
dude.
your hand, I mean, you could almost stand up and use the bathroom in the woods. It's like so stupid
A
what you
few
could
weeks
do.
ago, I was trying to get out of the stand. It had gotten dark, and the does were still at the feeder, and I threw my headlamp because I didn't want them to know I was up in the stand. So I threw my headlamp, and
Just shut off, didn't
it
it?
shut off. But still, they didn't react at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, what in the world? And as I'm climbing down the stand, and basically you walk out to this trail, and the trail is probably another 15 yards to the feeder, and I walk out, and the fawns still stayed at the feeder.
Yeah.
So they're just goofballs. But it's crazy how I honestly I get anxious when the mature does are in there because they're so smart. They know the stand. At least this one for sure down here. But when I see bucks, especially right now during the rut, I get excited because I know you could honestly get away with a lot with a buck coming in mid rut, like
Oh, yeah. I mean,
not caring at
if
all.
they're focused or their nose is the ground,
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy how much movement you can get away with because they're not paying attention. They're not, if they're scanning the perimeter, yeah, you better sit your butt still.
yeah,
But if they're on a doe, if they're chasing, if they're nose to the ground and they're on a track, yeah, get your butt up and get ready to shoot because there's a very good chance they're going to present an opportunity to you.
mm-hmm.
It's a great time to be in the woods, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's like my buck that I shot last week. Him and another buck came in behind me chasing a doe. I had basically spun around, grabbed my bow, and then they went to the other side of the tree, so I spun around to the other side of the tree. And then my buck came literally, what was it, 10 yards from my stand?
Looks like it.
And I was at full draw already. He didn't hear me until I basically like made a cow call at him, and then he stopped and looked up at me. But yeah, I was surprised with how much I could get away with because he was just hot on some dope.
Yeah, he had other stuff on his mind.
Yeah. All right, last question. What is your craziest experience in the woods?
It's got to be the first initial hunt I ever had where I talked about taking the chair out. I was on a neighbor's property, and it was a kind of a pinch point between different cornfields, and so it was wooded, but there was some nice area that you could hunt in, and so I didn't know to look at the clock to see what time sunrise was. So let's say if sunrise was at 6 o'clock, I was out there at 4 o'clock. I was out there probably 4:30 at the late. It was an hour and a half before light. So I'm stupid early, but like your first hunt, you can't sleep anyway. So you're like, screw it, I'm going out. So I get out and way stupid early in the morning. And then I take my stand, I got my bow in front of me, and I just found a spot. I mean, I'm in the dark, and I find a spot right on the edge of this field. So I'm kind of tucked in the woods, but on the edge of this field. And I sit down, and I'm just kind of sitting there. And then all of a sudden, I kind of move my feet a little bit, and I realize how crunchy the leaves are under my feet. And I thought, oh man, if something comes in and I got to adjust my weight, I'm going to have to, they're going to hear that. So I stood up. There's nothing around me at this point. And I just start scraping the ground with my boot. And that scraping must have enticed a big buck because I hear what sounded to me like a Sasquatch coming through the woods. I mean, and it was tearing through the woods to the point where it was running right at me. I literally am stopped. I'm holding the bow. I'm standing up, and it gets so close in the dark that I can hear it breathing. It's like, and I threw out some choice words.
You gotta say.
I was like, "Come get some mother ever!" Pull the bow back, and I'm thinking there's a Sasquatch. In my mind's eye, that's the only thing
Yeah.
that would make sense was
I
there was
would
a
think too.
Sasquatch that just tore through the woods and was ready to eat me. And all of a sudden, for you guys that have never hunted in the woods, deer do what's called a snort, where it's this big, real loud. What they're doing is they're blowing out their nostrils, basically blowing the snot out of their nose so they can smell. And you'll hear does do it, but when it's a dominant buck, it's a very loud. And he does that 10, 15 feet in front of me in the woods, still pitch black. I can't see him, but I just hear him. And I mean, I just don't even know. I just jumped so high and never released an arrow, but then he snorts. And as he's snorting, he's running off, and he's snorting the whole way. And I ironically still hunted the rest of that morning. I don't know how I did,
Probably been out of
but
there.
it scared the crap out of me. And it wasn't until I get out, and that's the other thing. Like, I think I hunted for 2 hours, after light and left, which, good luck seeing deer, 2 hours sit.
That's prime time, bro. 8 o'clock.
Yeah. So I get in the car and I call my buddy and I was like, dude, I gotta tell you this story. What happened? And he was like, dude, you saw, you had a mature buck, come in. He thought you were scraping the ground, maybe on one of his girls, and that was a mature buck that came running in on you. But yeah, that's probably the most notorious. Actually, I got one other one
The cliff one?
with you.
No.
I'm thinking of
Go ahead. Say what you're gonna say.
Down at Ralph's when you and I were rattling.
Oh yeah. Explain that.
Was it you or was it Chase?
It was me.
It was you. Okay, I was gonna say you
were sitting on the ground.
Yeah, we were sitting on the ground overlooking this valley, and the valley was only like a 40-yard shot, so it kind of went down. It was a nice little pinch point.
40, bro. When I think back, it was 110 to the other side.
Oh, to the other side, yeah. But the valley where they were running through, there was a steep valley that they were running through. And so I took the rattle sack out and said, "Okay, dude, we're gonna make it sound like there's a buck fight up here." And because I knew there was a buck that lived back in the back, ironically saw him a couple weeks earlier fighting another buck back there. So I said, when I'm rattling, I want you to make as much noise as you can over here and like jump around and stuff. Well, he took the term literally jump around, because like I'm hitting the thing and he's just like jumping on the bushes and throwing himself all over the branches and just doing everything he can. I mean, we sounded probably the best like a deer fight could ever be. And I'd taken a crossbow out because he was so young, couldn't draw a bow. So got him set up and I see him coming. I'm like, come here. So he comes over and just for the life of him could not get him in the crosshairs. You just couldn't find him. Like,
that's
you're like,
now.
I'm like, he's right there, and you're like, I can't see him. Dude, and I'm like, he's right there. And it was a big deer. And the whole time you're like, I can't see him. So he ended up picking us up. I think he heard some movement or something and then snorted. And that's probably my second favorite memory of being in the woods like that. But
do you have anything that you couldn't explain, like weird stuff that happened?
No. I mean, I've heard some crazy shit out there before.
Right.
Like, what I've since have learned is like bobcat screaming, like that. And you're like, what the heck is that?
I remember being at Camel Cliffs and hearing what sounds like a
Oh,
freaking lady's screech.
Yeah, I had that same thing at Camel Cliffs. That's funny you said that. I totally forgot about that. I was down at Camel Cliffs hunting over the cliff, and
that's where I was too.
Yeah, and I heard, and I think it was a screech owl.
Yeah,
but it sounded like a banshee.
Yeah, it sounds like a freaking witch getting slaughtered. Like,
yeah, and it's always like right at dusk.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Sound like something coming up over. That might have been a snort.
No.
I don't know.
We have like a feeder probably, 200 yards from us right now?
Yeah.
Down in the bowl.
We could hear it though. But yeah, that's pretty free. That's probably the only thing. It's just the sounds that you hear sometimes. I love the videos that you see on TikTok and stuff, like Jesus loves me, as they're singing it as they're walking through the woods. Don't be afraid of the woods, man. Use a headlamp. By the way, don't use a white headlamp. Use the colored headlamps to get yourself into the stands because the deer can't see them. Use a white one, you're not going to see stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, use a headlamp, get your butt in the woods, and then just be there when they wake up. That's probably the best thing you can do.
All right. Well, that's everything. Do you want to leave them with any advice or anything else?
I'd say just the biggest thing is, like I said, if you're wanting to get outdoors, talk to friends, talk to family. Rely on people you know. Even if it's a coworker,
Yeah.
and you find out they like to hunt or they like to fish, whatever it is. If it's something you're interested in, say, hey, dude, you might take me sometime.
Right.
That's the one thing I will say about hunters and outdoorsmen in general. We love teaching people.
Yeah.
We love to teach other people how to do that. I think it's one of those things that it's giving back, and it's just like the one time I took Max hunting.
Yeah.
That was another scenario. I had a handicapped kid that really wanted to go hunting, so I squared it away to get him on actually a professional property that charges people to hunt, and they set us up with a ground blind, and he got his first buck. He got a nice little 6-pointer. But so we love to do that, and love to get other people into that thing, and so don't be afraid to ask those people, because the average person, the average Joe, if they enjoy it, they're going to love to teach you what they know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like you like teaching people how to work out.
Oh, I love it. I love taking people to the gym. That's like, I always like going to the gym with my clients, even though they're online clients mainly. Like if they're in Columbus or I'm near them, I love going to the gym and just, putting them through a tough workout, and just spreading that love and hopefully sparking that fire in them.
I think that's it. You spark the fire.
Yeah. Get them seeing like, oh, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what it's about, And if you can take your buddy into the woods and you can rattle in a buck, and then it's like, oh my, they're hooked. There's no one that experiences that and doesn't, because that's the most adrenaline, fight or flight, whatever you want to call it, the buck fever. Like that's the craziest experience in the world.
Yeah.
So
when you have to sit down because you're afraid of falling out of a tree,
dude. Yeah.
That's
your climber stand I used a few weeks ago. It kind of wanted to rock back and forth for some reason, and I was not scared because I knew if I stood up and was easy with how I was getting up and down, I'd be fine. But I was like, dude, if a buck comes in here and I can't control the shaking, I might fall out of this tree. So that's one of my biggest worries. Like, you don't understand how bad your knees shake. It's crazy.
Well, and the other thing too, like if you get a big dominant buck that's coming in, nobody ever told me this, but true buck fever, like you'll get tunnel vision. Like your surroundings will just go, and like you can't see anything. It's all blurry on the outside. Mm-hmm. It's some of the craziest, and I mean to the point where I had to look away. My big buck I have on the wall.
Really?
Through the first couple times I saw him, he was coming through the woods, and I was just like, oh my god, and the tunnel vision just, and I couldn't see. I was like, oh my god, and like had to look away, and I looked back at him. I was like, okay, I can see him again. Then all of a sudden, the tunnel vision would come right back again. That's crazy, bro. Yeah, it is kind of crazy. What the adrenaline does to your system, especially if it's about to go down.
Yeah.
Thankfully
with my buck, like I had been seeing deer for weeks and weeks, so I kind of gotten used to controlling my nerves and just being calm. And my buck had come in.
You wait till you get one of those.
Dude, I know.
Just surprises you.
Especially when I'm sitting there waiting. Like I had seen my buck, and it took probably, even when I first saw him,
what happened for you is it happened so quick you didn't have time to let it happen.
Yeah, and honestly, they were so high up on the ridge behind me. They were probably 60 yards behind me, and I was like, dang, they're chasing that though. They ain't coming back. And then out of nowhere, boom, he takes a hard right and starts coming straight down towards me.
Yes.
I was like, oh, it's going down.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the nerves really even had time to or I didn't really have time to acknowledge the nerves or what was going on. So yeah. I'm sure one of these times I'm going to be watching a huge buck come in and be like shaking. So.
I saw a video the other day, and this guy, he must have a camera on the front of his bow, because all you can see is the arrow and the broadhead in front of it, and then he's holding it. He's literally recording the deer, but the whole time the arrow is just bouncing.
Yeah.
You can just tell he's probably just the adrenaline. He's doing his best to stay composed, but it's just the whole arrow is just bouncing. It's cracking me
And that's
up.
What's cool about archery too, is it's very humbling. Like just hunting in general as well. It's like it doesn't care about who you are, how you dress,
Oh, it does care about how you dress.
No, but like I'm saying, like it's you and the gun and your preparation for that moment. And I think that's what's that's the biggest part about buck fever is like, okay, I've been presented with this opportunity. Like, now there's so many factors that have to go into me having a good shot. Like, is this buck going to come up from behind this tree?
Yeah.
Am I standing the right way? Like,
well, and we practice a lot of other techniques we didn't even get into today with scent control and you know, using cover scents and different things like that.
right.
There's so many things. Like, we literally take scent-free showers before we step into the woods. You know, everything's been washed. These guys are really good at leaving me a nice little laundry basket of clothes to wash. But you know, when they come down, everything's ready to go, and so they can just, you know, hit the woods and go. But there's a lot of other steps that we do to, you know, to be able to be, and I think that's probably the other thing too that we didn't even really hit on, especially with archery. Archery is so different in the sense of you have to be like, I've never taken a shot over 40 yards with a deer with an archery, never, and nor would I. Now a gun, my God, you can shoot 80 to 100 yards all day in Ohio and kill a deer. But archery, it's so much more up close and personal. So you're literally seeing these deer at 10, 15, 20 yards, 25 yards, and it is just crazy. These bugs are nuts.
Yeah,
it's crazy to see animals up that close. And then on top of that, you realize they have no clue you're even there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's that element of surprise. Like, they just don't even have a grasp that you're sitting
right
in a tree 25 yards away from them. They have no clue. And I think it's almost like that.
Yeah.
That I'm a sniper.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It feels like, honestly, you're a sniper.
Yeah.
But there's so much prep that goes into it, whether it's the scent control, showering,
Yeah.
or it's, you know, the weeks and weeks of preparation, and for you, financial investment, buying corn and cameras and stands.
Which will change
like,
next year.
oh
I'll
my
have you guys
gosh,
start
yeah.
investing in that too.
Yeah, we'll have to start throwing some money towards it for sure.
When these
But
guys
it's
aren't
like-
broke anymore.
Yeah, it's like, okay, everything is led up to this moment. Like, I've got to execute or I'm going to look like a bozo. And that's how it is too. Like, if you're in a hunting camp, or you're like his buddy Scott, basically another, you know, uncle to me, comes down, and we all just give each other crap about the deer we shot or opportunities we missed. Even when I was a kid, I remember, you know, Scott and Chase riffing on me for, you know, missing deer and stuff. And it's just fun. It's so fun. And that's really everything I got, though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, give me a hug.
Appreciate the interview, man.
Yeah.
Making me feel like I'm important.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you too.
Hey, guys, remember to love God, lift weights, and live life. See you next time. Next video, we're going to be interviewing my mom about bodybuilding and her journey with that.